Hola chicos. In the last video we talked about the 7 liberal arts, the Trivium and the Quadrivium, and we kind of gave an ontological definition of each so that we could understand really what the purpose of each of those 7 liberal arts is. In this class, or in this video, we're going to talk about understanding the purpose of the arts, or entender el propósito de las artes. There are 3 different categories of arts. We already talked about the 7 liberal arts, so las 7 artes liberales, but there are also what we call utilitarian arts, las artes utilitarias, and las 7 bellas artes, or the 7 fine arts, which I'm sure that you've heard of. You probably had a class or maybe several classes in high school. Now, when we think about the different categories of arts, it's helpful to think about some different considerations, algunas consideraciones importantes. The first thing we need to consider is, what is the purpose of the art, el propósito? Secondly, what does it primarily engage, la involucración? Does it engage our minds, or do we engage matter? And finally, the essence or the nature of the art, la naturaleza. These are the 3 ways we're going to consider each of the categories of arts. Let's start with the 7 liberal arts, las 7 artes liberales. We've got the purpose, which is to create valuable goods. Now that begs the question, what is a valuable good, or bien valioso? Well, a valuable good is a good that serves to improve or elevate the essence of the person who holds that good. So it's not something that we use to improve the world, but rather ourselves. When we do that, we engage the mind rather than matter external to us. So la involucración es la mente. And by nature, these verbs, because we're serving to improve ourselves, they're intransitive. They stay within us, intransitiva. Valuable goods would be, some examples of valuable goods would be honesty, la honestidad, la virtud, or la moralidad. When we engage in the 7 liberal arts, we're essentially trying to improve ourselves in ways that we create honesty, virtue, and morality within ourselves, intransitively. And that's what we do when we engage in the liberal arts. When we engage in utilitarian arts, or las artes utilitarias, el propósito, or purpose, is to create useful goods. Los bienes utilitarios are those goods which serve to help us obtain valuable goods. And when we engage in utilitarian arts, we engage in matter. We're not really creating something within us, we're creating something without us to help us create something within. La materia. Y la naturaleza is transitive, because we're not working on ourselves, we're working on matter outside of us. That's a transitive type activity. So some examples of useful goods would be a home, un hogar, or la comida, or el dinero. These are goods which help us obtain things that in turn help us obtain things like honesty and improve ourselves innately. This is what happens when we engage in los artes utilitarios. The 7 fine arts, or the 7 bellas artes, are, well, their purpose is to create pleasurable goods. Now, what is a pleasurable good? A pleasurable good is a good that, by its very nature, is something of beauty or of pleasure that brings us joy. In Spanish, these are called los bienes placenteros. And when we engage in the 7 fine arts, we create pleasurable goods, so we're working with matter, materia. And by nature, again, these are transitive, because when we do a painting, for example, we're working with paint, we're working with a brush and canvas. So we're working with something external to ourselves. These consist of painting, la pintura, or drawing, el dibujo, el drama, la literatura, la danza, la escultura, la música instrumental, y la arquitectura clásica. Now, literature. I'm not talking about a Stephen King novel. I'm talking about ancient Greek, ancient Roman, or something of the belles artes, or belles lettres quality. And classical architecture, I'm not talking about the Dollar General on the corner. I'm talking about like the Colosseum or La Sagrada Familia, or something that contains beauty. All right, so let's finish up with talking about transitive versus intransitive. I've said this a couple of times in previous slides. Look at these two pictures. We've got one picture of a doctor helping a child, and we've got one of flowers in bloom. So la médica ayuda a la chica. The doctor helps the girl. So she's engaging in one of these arts. She's engaging in a utilitarian art, medicine. Now, when she engages in that art, she's working externally to her because the good that she's producing helps someone externally. So that is a transitive because she's transferring her art to another. As opposed to la flor florece, the flower blooms. Well, the flower blooms in and of itself. It's creating something within itself. It's fulfilling its nature. So that is intransitive, and that would be, if we had to equate it to an art, it would be a liberal art. All right, so vocabulario importante for this session: las bellas artes, las artes liberales, y las artes utilitarias. These are the three kinds of arts. Los bienes placenteros, los bienes utilitarios, y los bienes valiosos. These are the three different kinds of goods that equate, or that relate rather, to the three different kinds of arts. You got two different types of activity. We got transitivo and transitivo. We've got two different types of substance, la mente, la materia. And we've got three different aspects of goods. Its involucración, or its engagement. What does it engage? Su naturaleza, or esencia, its essence, and its purpose, el propósito. So these are the terms that you should probably get under your belt. And if you want to go further, what should you study? You should study the 7 liberal arts and for what they serve. What do they serve to do for us? The 7 fine arts, and what do they serve to do? The 7, or the many utilitarian arts, and what do they serve? The difference between transitive and intransitive, and the 3 types of goods and examples of each, and even to which art they correspond. I'll see you in the next video.